Many of you have heard of Walt Disney. He founded the Disney Company, the Walt Disney Company and Walt Disney Studios. He invented Mickey Mouse. He opened Disneyland and Walt Disney World. And he's done a whole lot to affect our social fabric. Well, I want to take you back to 1954. Walt had just started a show called Walt Disney's Disneyland, later known as the Walt Disney Anthology series. It ran through the 90s, or maybe through the 80s. And he started this show to fund his ambitious theme park. So if you look inside of what Walt talked about at Walt Disney's Disneyland, he brought you behind the scenes of creating Disneyland. And he did more than just make money to fund the park with this show. He took you inside the life of each land. So you got to see what life was like in Frontierland, Adventureland, or Tomorrowland. You got a special look at the world's most advanced, if not first, audio animatronic human being in Abe Lincoln. He used the show to preview and tease the park. He used it to build hype about Disneyland a year before it opened. And that's because Walt knew something super important about marketing that we can all apply today. Build your audience before you build your product. And in this case, build your audience before you build your course. Because you can't just put something out there, Field of Dreams style, and assume people will come. That's not the way it works anymore. It's not the way it worked then. It's not the way it works today, especially with the internet. Lots of people are building and nobody's coming. And this is especially true for courses and memberships. For people to buy your course, they need to know you, they need to like you, and they need to trust you. And that's because you are asking for maybe a few $100s in some cases, and you're saying, for this money, I will give you information. Why should I believe you're going to sell the information that you say you are? People need to know, like, and trust you. So we are going to talk about how to promote your course by building that trust. And the first thing you need to do is to start talking about your course topic before you even have a course. All right, put a blog out there and start talking about your topic. If your topic is podcasting, talk about how you podcast. Talk about the equipment that you have. Talk about evaluating that equipment. This is going to help establish authority for other people around this topic. You're going to say, hey, I know what I'm talking about. And you can talk about your topic, your course topic, anywhere that works for you. Pick the medium that works for you. Start a blog or make YouTube videos, maybe create a podcast or send out tips on social media, or some or all of the above. If you make YouTube videos, you can put that in podcast form. You can then transcribe that podcast and turn it into a blog article. And you can pick apart that article and send out those tips on social media. So you can pick the medium that works best for you or the multiple mediums that are going to work best for you to get your message to the world that you know what you're talking about in this specific area of expertise. And once you do that, as soon as you do that, the very first piece of content that you publish, you need to start building your mailing list. This is so important. If I could go back in time, this is the thing I would do. This is the biggest mistake that I made when I first launched my own online courses. Is I had no list to send to. I mean, the list that I had was like my mom and my clients, and none of them were interested in my courses. They were already paying me to do the thing that I was teaching. So building your mailing list is so important. Now, ways that you can build your mailing list is to have a call to action at the end of every piece of content. If you have a blog, at the end of that blog post, make sure to have a sign up form. Did you like this? Get this related content. Sign up for the mailing list. If you have a podcast or a YouTube video, start sending people to your mailing list sign up. Make it the first call to action. Make it the last call to action Stop telling people to smash that like button and instead have them sign up for your mailing list. If that's your goal. I mean, if your goal is to get YouTube subscribers, then keep telling them to smash that like button, I guess. But if you want to build your mailing list, have that call to action at the end of every piece of content. Use social media. So send out tweets about your content or tweets directly about your mailing list, and get people to sign up that way. Have a free download. You want to incentivize your mailing list. You don't just want to say, hey, give me your email address. Email address is currency these days. So have a free download or a bonus content, maybe a bonus PDF or video or podcast episode to get people to want to give up their email address for your mailing list. And finally, and if you make websites or you work a lot on the web, you might roll your eyes at this one, but it works. Pop-up modals. They work. There is a millions of dollar industry built around pop-up modals, and for good reason. I hated them, and then I started using them, and I've seen an increase in my mailing list because this is putting the ask right in front of people's faces, front and center. You're saying, I want your email address. In exchange, I will give you this thing. So I fought it for a long time, and I probably left metaphorical money on the table by not using them, and now I do. So I mentioned the idea of freebies. You want to incentivize people to get onto your mailing list, and there's a few ways that you can do that. A short ebook on the topic is a good one. My highest converting incentive is a podcast workbook placed around my podcasting content, basically saying, do you like this? Do you want to launch your podcast? Here is a free workbook on how to do that. A free, 5 to 9 step guide, or even like a 12-step guide, whatever, on how to do something specific. Another one of my incentives, my content bonuses, is a free PDF that is 5 tools to help you build websites faster. This is built specifically for the people who I want to be part of my membership. Those people are site builders who do not code, who want to use the right tools to build nice looking websites. This PDF will help them do that. If you have a podcast and you want to build your mailing list, a bonus episode is a great way to do that. You talk to somebody, maybe you have a B-side conversation afterwards. Make that the incentive. Discounts are also a great incentive. I've signed up for mailing lists because of discounts. I'm sure you have signed up for mailing lists because of discounts. I did it recently with 12 South. I wanted to spend like $200 on their site, and they said, sign up and get 12% off. Done. I just saved $20 or so. An email drip course or a live webinar. This is free educational content. People are very often willing to give their email address up for free educational content or free feedback. This was a good idea that I saw from Nicholas Scalise of the Landing Page School. He has a podcast and he has a course. And basically, if you signed up for his mailing list, you could email him a landing page that you've built, and he would provide some quick feedback on how to improve that landing page. I thought that was really clever. And yeah, there's a bit of a time investment, but it's also one of the best ways to connect. I felt connected to Nick. We were essentially having a conversation. It was asynchronous, but he said my name. He looked at my landing page. He gave me real advice. And it made me a fan of his work. So this is ways to get people onto your mailing list. Once people are on your mailing list, you want to make sure to let them know, let them remember who you are. Don't just email the list when your course or your membership is launched, because people are going to forget, especially if months or years go by. People are going to forget why they signed up. You want to nurture that list. So have a welcome sequence when they sign up. Maybe it's 3 emails. Hey, thanks for signing up. Hey, here's your free download. What's the biggest problem you're having in this topic area? Here are a few tips. Thanks for signing up. Then continue to send good content, like quick win content. One of my quick wins is how to launch your podcast in 10 minutes using Anchor. This is a quick win because people have a hard time, and Anchor does a lot of the work for you. Remind them of the value of your course and the problem you're solving. Okay, again, when I send my podcasting mailing list, information. It's stuff around the industry that they should know. It's content that I've put together to help them solve the problem that they're trying to solve, which is launching a podcast. Answer their questions. I try to engage with my audience as much as possible. If they have specific questions, I want to answer them either privately or in blog post form, right? So that's why the first email I send after the incentive email is, what's the biggest problem you're having in podcasting? And when people write back, I always respond and I answer their question. And then if it's really good, or if it's a question I haven't gotten before, I add it to a Trello board. And I'm like, this is going to be good content for later. But ultimately, don't be afraid to give away information. I think a lot of people feel this way. They're like, well, if I want people to buy my course, I can't give away any of the course. You want people to trust you. And giving away that information is going to help people trust you. Not all of it. Don't give away the full course, but tips here and there, disjointed. So it's, maybe it's beginning of the journey, maybe it's towards the end of the journey, but you're missing an important middle chunk. But give away information to help establish that trust and nurture your list, because you don't want people saying this. Who is this? I don't remember signing up for this list. This is that lead that you let go cold. They aren't going to buy from you anymore. Or it's going to take a lot more energy now to remind them of who you are and why they signed up in the first place. So along with that, you don't want to make it a one-way street. You want to engage, you want to interact. You want to involve your list in the process of building the course, right? If you've started building your list before you started building the course, which I strongly recommend, these are the people who have bought into your message. Now you want to make them fans. You want to let them know that you are listening. So try to get feedback from them as you build the course. Maybe pick 5 people from your list and beta test with them. Pick people who are engaging the most, or people who you think would provide super valuable feedback. Let them take a beta version of the course for free and get feedback from them and make the fixes, right? Because these people are your target audience. And we always have blind spots to the educational content we're creating. Maybe we assume everybody already knows a certain thing. The first time I taught WordPress to people, I assumed they knew the difference between a post and a page, and they were very confused, and they let me know immediately. And now my educational content around that clearly defines what a post and a page is. So get feedback from them and make those fixes. And then, and here's the payment, quote unquote, that they're giving you, get testimonials from them to use on your site and in social media, because testimonials help people convert. Those are going to convert sales, because now it's like, oh, this person is the same as me, and this course or this membership has helped them. Once you are in the midst of testing your course, and even before that, you're going to want to build your launch plan. Remember, all of this revolves around people having the need to know, like, and trust you. So you want to start that process as early as possible. As soon as you start developing your course, create the sales page, have a newsletter opt-in, be the first to find out when enrollment opens. Nurture that list, build a priming sequence for your mailing list. The priming sequence is going to be different from the launch sequence. The priming sequence is basically going to let people know what the course is about, give them a little taste of the content that's going to be in there. And this is going to get them excited for the course. Start scheduling webinars 6 to 8 weeks out with your own audience so that people can engage with you and see that you're the real deal, but also with other people's audience so that you're reaching new groups of people and they become interested in what you're talking about as well. Reach out to places that cater to your target audience. Lots of sites are always looking for good content. If you're giving them good content, maybe an interview, maybe a little blurb about the course, maybe a sample lesson from the course, they'll be pretty willing to publish that, especially if it's at no cost to them. So reach out to people that cater, say, hey, are you looking for some content? I be upfront. I'm promoting this course. I would love if you did a piece on it. If I can help in any way, please let me know. Build a separate launch sequence. Again, you have the priming sequence. You also want the launch sequence. And we'll talk about the launch sequence in a little bit when we talk about kind of different types of courses. But your focus here is building, incentivizing, and nurturing your mailing list. And something that we haven't talked about yet is social media. So let's talk about social media. Uh, I used to think that social media was like the way to sell stuff. I would tweet, "Hey, buy my thing," and then people would buy it from the tweet. That's not going to happen. People don't just buy from a tweet unless they already know, like, and trust you. So use social media to drive traffic and to get newsletter signups. Use social media to establish that trust by tweeting out tips and interacting with people. So it's still super useful for audience building, but it's probably not super useful for direct sales unless people already know, like, and trust you. Social media is great for connecting with your audience. That's really what we've been talking about this whole time, right? You want to connect with the people you're selling to, because if you connect with people, then they will trust you to deliver on what you're selling. So social media is great for that. In particular, social media is great for behind the scenes stuff. If you already follow me on Instagram, you'll know about a month ago, I was in my Instagram stories giving some behind the scenes stuff on this talk, how I was working on this talk, how I put together that Walt Disney slide, where I was working on it, and things like that. Behind the scenes stuff is great because it gives people a look behind the curtain to see how the sausage is getting made. Tips and tricks related to your content. Again, if you're giving people quick wins, they are more likely to trust you. Answer specific questions that students or other people on Twitter or other social media have, right? Maybe search that hashtag that's the key word for your course and answer questions and be helpful. Don't just say, "Oh, by the way, buy my course." Answer the question. That'll get the follow. Maybe people will look at your mailing list. Because again, you don't want to be too salesy. People see through that and they won't trust it. Doing giveaways to build your list that's something that social media is great for. Either follow me on Twitter or follow me on Instagram or tweet this out and be entered into a giveaway for a free access to the course, or these 5 books that helped me build this course, or whatever. And of course, sharing related content, right? Because you're surfacing resources that are helpful. Even if people know, like, and trust you, they're going to need a little help pushing that buy button. So let's talk a little bit about urgency. Urgency helps people purchase. This is why Black Friday in the United States is so popular. This is why those holiday sales or those flash sales are so popular. This is why people offer a 24-hour discount, because you're creating urgency. So there's 2 types of online courses or memberships, and those are the closed enrollment courses and the evergreen courses. Closed enrollment courses are limited time enrollment. The doors open on this day, they close on this day. People can only enroll in that time frame. The urgency here is the specific dates where you can register. If I can only register between November 1st and November 7th, then I'm more likely to register because I don't know when the doors are going to open again. And this also gives you a much clearer launch sequence, right? So if you are launching on November 1st, then you know on September 1st, you need to start doing weekly webinars. You need to know that on October 1st, I'm going to start with the priming sequence. And on November 1st, I'm going to start my sales sequence to my mailing list. Evergreen courses are a little different. People can register anytime they want, so they don't have the urgency of "I better register now." Instead, you create that urgency through discounts and special offers. So if you still want to have a big launch on November 1st, then you say, "Hey, I have a discount, get 50% off the course for these 7 days only." And when you do have an evergreen course, you have a little bit more flexibility, but you can schedule bigger launch times to increase enrollment, right? So maybe the course is open all year, but you are really going to push starting November 1st. You want to get a lot of enrollments starting November 1st. So you incentivize around that time with discounts, and you have the whole launch sequence of webinars and content and mailing list sequences. Ways to incentivize your course. And this works especially well for the evergreen courses. But if you want people to register within the first 24 hours of your launch, maybe you want to do these as well, right? So an early bird discount. Be the first 100 people get a 50% discount. Or if you register in the first 24 hours, you get a 50% discount. Access to you, again, the first 100 people or the first 50 people that register for the course get a free 15-minute call with me about the course topic and questions they have. Create a special community of people, right? So the first 100 people to register, they're the mastermind for this course, and they'll have access to a special Slack channel with me and the rest of the people, or free downloads or lessons, right? So if you register within the first 24 hours or with an evergreen course, if you register during this time period, you'll also get this mini course that I was working on just for you for registering within this time frame. Okay, so we've talked about a lot in this time. So let's just go through our launch checklist again, right? We have our list, we have some ideas for incentives. Let's go through the launch sequence. Create your email sequence. I say 3 to 5 emails here. If it's a 7-day launch, make it 5 to 7. Schedule your social media for around that time. Again, from November 1st to November 7th, if these are our launch dates, you want to be tweeting on LinkedIn, on Instagram, letting people know the sale is going on. Write blog posts for your own content, press releases for other people, and go back and update your older related content to have that pop-up modal that says, hey, you like this content? Well, there's a course open right now until November 7th. Register today. And ask your network to promote. And don't do that on November 1st. Give them a couple of weeks before. Say, hey, I'm having a giant sale from November 1st to November 7th. I would love if you wrote about it or tweeted about it. It would be really helpful to me. You will think that you are promoting too much. You are not. Somebody who I admire in the education space, his name is Troy Dean. He runs Digital Mavericks. He has the WordPress Blueprint. He does a lot of really great stuff. And he has these enrollments, right, where open, closed period, closed enrollment courses. And he emails a lot in that time period, right? And I don't generally feel like it's too much. People stick on the mailing list, so he's definitely doing something right. But also, on the day after enrollment closes, he inevitably gets an email that says, hey, I didn't realize enrollment was open. Can you let me register? So you might think that you're promoting too much, but you are not. Your goal in these 7 days is to get as many people to that landing page to go and buy your course as much as possible. Okay, so for 1 week out of the year or 2 weeks out of the year, you're promoting heavily. The other 50 weeks, you're providing good content, and your audience will recognize that. The other thing to remember here is that online courses are not passive income. So even after your launch, be engaged with your students, get feedback, talk to them, make them super fans, because the next launch that comes around, they're going to help you promote. They're going to be a pivotal part of your launch plan. So remember to be actively engaged in your online courses. Don't just set it and forget it, because that's how to make a quick $100. That's not the way to build a community or a business. Okay, so wrapping up, we talked about a lot here. Your main goal is to connect with your audience. You want to get people to know, like, and trust you. And you want to build your mailing list. By doing those things, you're going to provide value. You're going to remind people of the problem you're solving, so that when you're ready to launch your course, those people will know that you're the real deal and they'll be more likely to buy. Thanks so much for watching this talk. My name is Joe Casabona. I'm an educator, developer, and a podcaster. You can connect with me on most social networks at jcasabona. I'm particularly active on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want to get these slides and other resources related to this talk, you can head over to casabona.org/unleashed. Thanks again. If you have any questions, feel free to send them via Twitter or Instagram or wherever you happen to hang out.